Welcome to our Trump briefing show, folks. Today, we're diving into some fiery international and domestic drama. First up, Peter Navarro, a key figure behind US tariffs, has thrown some serious shade at the UK, calling it a compliant servant of China. This comment has stirred up quite a storm, especially with tensions over UK investments in nuclear and 5G sectors. It's a reminder that global trade and politics are more tangled than ever. Next, President Trump is claiming the U.S. economy is a mix of his own policies and the Biden administration's impact, but he's quick to blame Biden for any economic issues. He's singing praises about tariffs and stock market gains, but warns there's still some uncertain waters ahead. It's a classic Trump show, optimism mixed with a dash of controversy. Finally, in the world of social media and religion, Trump's AI-generated Pope image caused a huge backlash. J.D. Vance chimed in, saying he's okay with jokes, but many critics found the image disrespectful, especially during Pope Francis's passing. It's a wild mix of politics, religion, and tech, definitely something to keep an eye on. Please continue to stay tuned for more detailed updates. The Independent reports on Peter Navarro, the architect behind Donald Trump's controversial tariffs, who has launched a scathing critique of the UK, branding it a compliant servant of Communist China. Navarro's remarks, made in an interview with a UK newspaper, accused Britain of being overly submissive to Chinese soft power, suggesting that the UK is in danger of having its blood sucked dry by Beijing. This provocative language stems from Navarro's broader concerns about China's influence, especially in the context of recent UK-China relations involving Chinese investments in nuclear power and 5G infrastructure, as well as the government's emergency intervention to prevent Chinese ownership of British steel. Navarro warns that China's economic tactics, such as dumping excess steel, pose a threat not just to the US but to the UK and EU as well, emphasizing the need for vigilance against becoming dumping grounds for Chinese goods. His comments, which also criticize the UK's perceived complicity in China's soft power strategies, reflect ongoing tensions about China's expanding global influence and the UK's role within that geopolitical landscape. CNN highlights President Donald Trump's recent assertions that the US economy is a blend of his policies and the Biden administration's shortcomings. During an interview on Meet the Press, Trump claimed that the good parts of the economy are due to his presidency, while blaming the Biden economy for its failures. Despite a turbulent stock market and rising inflation, such as grocery prices reaching their highest year-over-year increase since August 2023, Trump remains optimistic, asserting that tariffs and other policies will ultimately make America very rich. He deflects responsibility for stock market volatility, pointing to recent gains and emphasizing that the tariffs are a necessary medicine to strengthen the nation. Trump's comments come amid widespread public concern about a potential recession, with many experts raising the odds of economic downturn. While he touts the strength of the U.S. economy, his refusal to acknowledge the long-term impacts of his tariff policies and his aggressive criticism of Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell underscore ongoing uncertainties about the country's economic future. The Independent also covers J.D. Vance's response to the backlash over Donald Trump's AI-generated image depicting himself as the Pope. Vance, a Catholic and one of the last world leaders to meet with Pope Francis before his death, dismissed concerns about the image, calling it fine with people telling jokes. The provocative picture, which shows Trump dressed in papal vestments with an unsmiling expression, drew widespread criticism from the Vatican, Catholic bishops, and political commentators. Critics argued that the image showed disrespect to religious institutions and mocked the Holy Father at a sensitive time, just as the Catholic Church prepared for the conclave to elect a new pope following Francis' passing. Vance's attempt to downplay the controversy, framing it as humor, was met with further criticism, especially from the Vatican and American Catholic leaders, who emphasized the importance of respecting religious figures. The controversy underscores the cultural and political tensions surrounding Trump's provocative use of social media, especially when it involves religious symbolism, and highlights the broader debate about the boundaries of satire and respect in public discourse. The BBC highlights the remarkable life of Dafydd ap Thomas, better known as David Thompson, a Welsh explorer whose groundbreaking work in the early 19th century laid the foundation for Canada's modern boundaries. Despite being partially blind and limping from a severe leg injury, Thompson's mastery of celestial navigation allowed him to chart over 4 million square miles, including the treacherous Columbia River and the disputed border between Canada and the U.S., an international boundary that remains unchanged today, much to the dismay of Donald Trump's suggestion that Canada become the 51st U.S. state. His maps, created with extraordinary precision, continue to serve as the basis for the border, a testament to his genius and perseverance. Thompson's deep respect for indigenous nations, his marriage to Cree woman Charlotte, and his advocacy for First Nations rights further exemplify his profound connection to the land and its peoples. Born into poverty in Radnorshire, Wales, he overcame early adversity, including the loss of sight in one eye and a life-threatening injury, to become a celebrated explorer and surveyor. His skills in native languages and celestial navigation fostered meaningful relationships with indigenous communities, who revered the stars as well. Thompson's work was so precise that it was instrumental in defining the US-Canada border after the War of 1812, earning him recognition as a voyager and a national hero. Despite his later financial struggles due to poor investments and resentment from some Canadians, he remained dedicated to mapping Canada's growing towns until his death in 1857, leaving behind a legacy of exploration, cultural respect, and boundary setting that endures to this day. Nikkei Asia reports that President Donald Trump has indicated he might extend the June 19 deadline for ByteDance to divest TikTok's U.S. assets if no agreement is reached. The deal, which would involve creating a US-based firm majority-owned by American investors, has been stalled due to tensions between China and the US, with tariffs and diplomatic disputes complicating negotiations. Trump, who has expressed personal fondness for TikTok, suggests that China is eager to reach an agreement and that tariffs are hurting their economy, hinting he might lower them as part of a broader deal. Despite the legal controversy over his authority to extend the deadline, Trump remains optimistic about reaching a resolution, emphasizing the app's significance and his desire to protect it, especially given its role in engaging young voters for his 2024 campaign. Meanwhile, The Independent reveals Trump's startling admission of uncertainty regarding his constitutional responsibilities. During an NBC interview, he confessed he didn't know if he was legally bound to uphold the Constitution, especially concerning due process rights for non-citizens targeted for deportation. This candid remark raised eyebrows, as the Fifth Amendment guarantees such rights, and critics argue that Trump's approach to mass deportation skirts these legal protections. The president also dismissed the idea of seeking a third term, claiming he intends to serve only 2 terms and dismissing recent speculation about constitutional amendments or third-term ambitions. His remarks reflect a tumultuous view of legal norms and constitutional obligations, with Trump asserting confidence in his legal team's interpretations while hinting at a readiness to challenge established legal boundaries. In a broader interview, Trump also touched on foreign policy, trade, and domestic economic issues, often asserting that his policies have been beneficial for the U.S. economy. He refused to rule out military action against Greenland or Canada, citing national security concerns, and floated the possibility of future invasions, though he claimed such actions were highly unlikely. Trump expressed confidence in the U.S. economy's strength, denying fears of recession, and praised his trade policies for attracting foreign investment, claiming that companies are relocating to the U.S. and investing trillions of dollars. His remarks about potential military interventions and territorial ambitions, combined with his dismissive attitude toward constitutional constraints, portray a president willing to challenge diplomatic norms and legal limits, emphasizing his belief in American strength and independence. Deutsche Welle vividly reports the ongoing brutality of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, highlighting the recent drone strikes on Kharkiv, Ukraine's second-largest city. The strikes, which targeted 4 districts, injured nearly 50 civilians and caused widespread destruction to residential buildings, vehicles, and civilian infrastructure. The city, located just 30 kilometers from the northeastern border, has been a persistent target since Russia's full-scale invasion in February 2022. In tandem with the assault on Kharkiv, Moscow launched another attack in Zaporizhia, injuring at least 20 more people, illustrating the relentless and widespread nature of Russia's military campaign. Ukrainian President Zelensky condemned these attacks, emphasizing that they lacked military targets and were aimed at civilians' homes, especially during times when families are putting children to bed. Russia's announcement of a 3-day ceasefire, coinciding with Moscow's World War II commemorations, was met with skepticism by Kiev, which dismissed it as a manipulative ploy just for a parade, underscoring the ongoing tensions and the complex geopolitical games at play. CBC provides a stark and unsettling insight into the internal political turmoil in the United States, centered around President Donald Trump's ambiguous stance on due process rights amid his administration's aggressive immigration enforcement. During a televised interview, Trump expressed uncertainty about whether U.S. residents are guaranteed due process under the Constitution, suggesting that such protections would lead to an overwhelming number of trials. This hesitation comes amid legal battles, including a Supreme Court ruling that temporarily halted the deportation of Venezuelan migrants accused of gang affiliation and a separate case involving a wrongful deportation to El Salvador. Trump also dismissed the idea of pursuing a third presidential term, citing constitutional restrictions, despite his previous hints at interest in another run. The narrative underscores the tension between legal norms and political rhetoric in the U.S., revealing a president grappling with legal constraints while navigating a contentious immigration landscape. South China Morning Post captures Trump's strategic maneuvering regarding TikTok amid ongoing tensions with China and the broader geopolitical rivalry. The former president announced that he would extend the June 19 deadline for ByteDance to divest its U.S. TikTok assets if no deal was reached, expressing a personal fondness for the app, which played a role in his 2024 campaign. Trump's decision to delay enforcement of the ban, initially mandated to take effect in January, is tied to the stalled negotiations over a deal that would see TikTok's U.S. operations spun off into a U.S.-owned firm. Despite opposition from Democratic senators who argue Trump lacks the legal authority to extend the deadline, the White House remains hopeful that tariffs and trade tensions can be resolved, potentially lowering tariffs and fostering a broader agreement. Trump's remarks reveal his strategic balancing act, maintaining pressure on China while leaving room for diplomatic negotiations, all amid the complex landscape of international trade and national security concerns. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.